Welcome to your second stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and Sunday news report for November 8th. Today, I have some potentially good news for you guys regarding stimulus. This is something that we haven't talked about and hasn't been mentioned for over a month. And so I really want to bring this up and explain why this could be good news for stimulus moving forward. Now, before I get into this potentially good news, and this is great news in some aspects, I want to address a report that came out this morning from CNN. CNN is reporting that Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law, is telling him to concede the election. However, there are many other reports that are conflicting reports with this information, saying that Jared Kushner is telling President Trump to concede the election, but only after President Trump has gone through all avenues to ensure there was no fraud or wrongdoing in this election. So, CNN is reporting the right information. However, CNN is only reporting half of the information. And this is something that you need to really be aware of when you watch any mainstream media, is depending on where they lean, whether they're far left, far right, somewhere in the middle, they will take the information that they get, twist it a little bit so that it appeals to the majority of their audience. On CNN, most of their audience is going to be a Democratic audience. They are going for President-elect Biden. So you just need to be aware of this when you go and you watch any media. Here on YouTube, for me personally, I try to stay right in the middle. I bash Democrats, I bash Republicans. I'll bash Joe Biden, I'll bash President Trump. I will do it all because I'm right in the middle. I do not have, I have my own certain beliefs, but at the same time, I'm not here to push those onto you. I'm just here to report the facts. So even though Jared Kushner is telling President Trump and advising him to concede the election, he is telling him to do it only after he has gone through all the avenues to ensure there's no wrongdoing in this election. Now, just so you know, states will go and finalize the election, finalize the polls, finalize the numbers. However, most states aren't going to do it until December 3rd. And like California, we know it's going to go Democrats, going to go to Biden. But like California, they don't finalize their election until December 11th. So right now, there's still a long ways to go. We still have about a month until the election results are finalized. So as of right now, there's still some stuff in play. There's still going to be legal battles. There's going to be recounts. And so we still don't know 100% guaranteed it's going to be Joe Biden. However, that is looking like that is the outcome. So, like I said yesterday, here on this channel, we are going to proceed as if President-elect Joe Biden will be the next president come January 21st. In addition to that, President Trump is not done being president. He's not done. He still has the lame duck session. He still has from today until January 21st, 2021 to be president, to run this country, to govern. He still has that time. Also, President Trump, if he is not going to be president for the next 4 years, if he didn't win, then he can still come back and run and potentially be president again for another 4 years after Joe Biden. So he could come back as soon as 2024 and run for president then. And I say this because if this is his goal, then for President Trump to provide some type of stimulus during the lame duck session would be huge for his next potential campaign. And this is probably what his campaign advisors are telling him. You can't just, forget about the American people. You can't just have legal battle after legal battle because you have to look at things long term. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to make changes? Are we just trying to make sure Joe Biden doesn't win? These are questions that he is currently answering. So right now, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows if President Trump comes back, after 4 years of not being in office and tries to, get back into the presidency, into the race. We don't know. But we do have some good news that could potentially affect stimulus and could potentially happen during the lame duck session. Remember back on, I believe it was September 3rd, possibly September 4th, President Trump came out in a press conference. He said that the government has over $300 billion sitting in an account. It's not being used. They don't need the money. It's there. They don't need it. There's no use for the money. And so President Trump said he could potentially do an executive order for stimulus checks, for a bailout for the airline industry, which was very, very needed at that time. It's still something that's really needed. And he also addressed maybe, things like extending unemployment again. Well, the money's still there. And based on what Steve Mnuchin has said, is those funds are not needed. Those funds are not needed any longer. The majority of those funds are coming from the Main Street Lending Program, which was seen as an absolute bust. It didn't work. People didn't like it. It was too complicated, too complex. Nobody applied. So because of that, many experts are saying that as of right now, President Trump does have the authority to do another executive order and potentially use those funds as he sees fit. Now, these $300 billion are huge. They're huge to the American people and to potentially Joe Biden's lead into office. I want to explain why that is. Because actually, earlier this week, I reported that President Trump's economic advisor, Stephen Moore, he said that President Trump doesn't want his last act in office to be him signing a $2 trillion debt spending bill that is just going to help Joe Biden. He wants Joe Biden to own that himself. He does not want to be the one signing the bill, and then Joe Biden and the Biden campaign, the Biden administration, gets all the praise, all the glory from what President Trump did. So, this is good news. Okay, I say this is good news because that $300 billion of leftover funds needs to be spent. It hasn't been spent. It's been allocated, but the money's sitting there. But here's what you need to know. This money was spent. It's already been spent. Okay, it's already been taken from the government. It's already been taken from their books. So here's what you need to understand. This money has already been contributed to the debt under the Trump administration. So if this money is not spent before January 21st, this money goes to the Biden administration, which means President Trump just gave Joe Biden and his administration $300 billion to spend at will, what they see fit. So right now, what experts are saying is if these funds are not spent, President Trump would have just given Joe Biden another win. So this is why many experts believe that the Trump administration, his advisors, will be telling him, if they have not been telling him this already, is that you have to spend this money. If this money is not spent, it will go to Joe Biden. And he can use that money to do whatever he wishes with it. So again, this is huge. This means there are options available for the Trump administration and the American people. First off, an airline bailout. Let's just address the airline bailout. Many people say, "Oh, let the airlines fail. Let the airlines fail. They'll go under. The bigger ones, the better ones, they'll take over and we'll be good." Here is the reason why an airline bailout is a good thing. It's a good thing because if you split the money among all the different airlines, and you tell the airline industry, this money is to go and hire employees back. We do not want them on unemployment. We want them on your books. We want them as your employee, but you have to keep them employed for, let's say, 3 months, 4 months, right? What this is going to do is it's going to bring everybody back to the airline industry. The people will be recalled. All those tens of thousands of employees that were furloughed will be called back, and they will have their job back. They will have their benefits back. This is good. It also means an executive order could be done for the Paycheck Protection Program, which means it will prevent businesses, small businesses, from closing. Experts currently say that right now, about 1 out of every 5 small businesses will close within the next 6 months if the Paycheck Protection Program does not get extended. So, right now, this is very important. I believe the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, is a vital program to have here in the United States to see the economy get back up to where it once was and to give people their jobs back. Another potential executive order, which President Trump has already done, but he could do another one, is extend unemployment. By extending unemployment, what he does is he gives these extra funds to the people that are currently unemployed and struggling to find work. Right now, what we know based off of reports, based off of not just polls, but actual reports of hard fact numbers, is that the average American worker is making about 40% less on unemployment than they would if they went to their 9-to-5 job, if it was available for them to go back to. So this is big, 40% less. Just think, let's say you make, $1,000 a month. It's not a lot. You make $1,000 a month. You get 40% less. So you only make $600 a month right now on unemployment. Most people couldn't survive with a 40% decrease in their income. Another thing is education assistance. We know right now that the American people, the average American family, is struggling because they can't get their kids off to school because their schools are not open. But these families, these parents, are being asked to go to work. Yet they do not have somebody to watch their kids because their kids normally go to school. And if they pay for daycare or childcare, now what is the point of them even going to work? Because now they're paying more in childcare fees and costs than they actually make at their job. So education assistance is huge here as well. And the last one, this is one that's more controversial, but this is one that could potentially be done, and that is stimulus checks. An executive order for stimulus checks. This would be a $1,200 stimulus check to filers and their spouses, $500 for dependents under the age of 17. And I say under the age of 17 because if we include people that have an ITIN number and we include adult dependents, that number would drastically increase and there would potentially be not enough money to provide all Americans with a stimulus check. So, because of that, those are the options that are available at this point. Now, some of these things we know Trump could do if he wishes. Some of these things could potentially have legal issues. Some of these executive orders could potentially be fought in court by Democrats. We don't know. But right now, based on the reports that I'm reading, is that there is not really a loss on President Trump's part to go and try to do an executive order for one of these things, to potentially use the money to bolster his agenda, to bolster the economy, and then later on, if he decides to rerun for president, he could tell people, well, I did an executive order for this and that and these things, but yet what has Joe Biden done? And again, it doesn't matter what Joe Biden does or doesn't do. It doesn't matter how good the economy is or how poor the economy is doing under a Biden administration. Trump is going to come in and say, oh, you did horrible. Just like Joe Biden did with Trump. Even though Trump did very well for the first few years, the last year was just complete disaster. But I personally believe, and based on a lot of the reports that experts are saying, that it doesn't matter who was in office. They do not believe the economy would be doing any better under a different president. They do not believe President Trump did any better than a different president would have done. Things are the way they are because of this pandemic. So, we need to get out of this pandemic. And how do we do that? Well, we need to address testing, tracing, treatment. We need to provide a vaccine. And we need to give the American people the stimulus that they need to survive and get out of this pandemic on their own. In addition to Trump being able to do executive orders in the lame duck session, here's another big thing that many people have not really talked about. And that is what we know is Nancy Pelosi as of right now. What we know is Nancy Pelosi is the highest ranking Democrat as of right now. Once President-elect Joe Biden takes office on January 21st, 2021, he will be the highest ranking Democrat, which means stimulus negotiations will happen between President Joe Biden, currently President-elect, and most likely Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. However, most likely what is going to happen is President-elect Joe Biden will have more important things to do or have other things to do. At that time, he will most likely delegate that task to somebody else, most likely Nancy Pelosi. So Nancy Pelosi will have to negotiate with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Again, that is if the Senate is still controlled by Republicans, which all indications as of right now do indicate that the Senate is going to win, or the Republicans will win the Senate, and they will remain in control. So, we also know Nancy Pelosi, as of right now, will be talking to President-elect Biden and getting his intake, getting his ideas and responses to potential stimulus packages that the Senate and Mitch McConnell, maybe President Trump, is putting in front of him. We know what President Trump had originally offered at $1.9 trillion. However, Nancy Pelosi turned that down. As of right now, I don't think President Trump will sign a $1.9 trillion stimulus package. I just don't see it happening. This means that Nancy Pelosi will still be negotiating, no matter what. But she will be negotiating for Joe Biden. So it's going to be President Trump providing his ideas and his thoughts on stimulus. But at the same time, it's not going to be him against Nancy Pelosi. It's going to be him telling Steve Mnuchin to talk to Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi going to Joe Biden and getting his ideas and answers and responses. So now, instead of just pretty much 2 people negotiating, or 3 with Steve Mnuchin, we now have 4 people that are in this negotiation. And then on top of that, President Trump still has to go to Mitch McConnell and see, will the Senate agree to this? That's 5 people. Stimulus negotiations are going to go slow unless Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden accept the $500 billion plus stimulus proposal or skinny bill that Mitch McConnell has in front of him. So, as of right now, stimulus is up in the air. The good news is President Trump has more power now. I believe he has more power now because people cannot say, and Democrats can't come to him and say, oh, you're just doing stimulus checks. You're just doing an airline bailout. You're just doing unemployment extension because you're trying to win the election. It's just a political move. They can't say that now. The election's pretty much done. The votes are in. They're being counted. Nobody else can vote. Well, based off, legally, nobody else can vote. But right now, that's where we stand. So, President Trump, I believe now, has more power to do an executive order than he did before the election. And based off reports, that's what many people are predicting, is he is going to do an executive order. It's just what's going to be in that executive order. What I do know, okay, I have no doubt in my mind, there will be stimulus. There will be stimulus. The American people will benefit from this in some way. As far as how big the stimulus package is going to be, as far as when we will see it, we don't know. We have no clue. What I can tell you is, most likely, if Mitch McConnell has anything to do with this stimulus package, it will be smaller, it will be more targeted, it will have liability protections in it. If Trump is willing to help during the lame duck session, which some people say he could be depending on his ultimate goal, does he want to come back and rerun? If he does, then I could see stimulus happening sooner rather than later. If he doesn't, he has no desire to rerun again. He does not like the election process. A lot of people don't. If he does not like the election process, he doesn't get along with the lame street media, like he said earlier in a tweet today, then maybe he doesn't care. And he's just going to close up shop, pretty much just live out the last couple months of his presidency during the lame duck session and go on with his ordinary life, business, golfing, things like that. So right now, just know there will be stimulus, but as to when we see it, we don't know. It could happen soon, could happen much later. But it just might not be the stimulus that you and I are hoping for. It might be something for airlines, might be something for schools, could be liability protections, could be things like that. Some unemployment benefits, they won't be as long, won't be as high, the payments won't be as good as before, but it could be something. So, that's what we know right now. But let's address the COVID news, because this is huge. The United States reported yesterday 126,156 new cases of COVID yesterday alone, and 1,013 deaths just yesterday on a Saturday. A Saturday, okay? The weekends usually do not have such high case counts. The weekends usually don't have such high death counts. But Saturday was different. This brings our total cases for this week alone to 748,800 new cases in just 7 days. This is according to Johns Hopkins University. These numbers are scary, and experts are saying and predicting that we are only reporting 1 out of every 5 positive cases in the United States. They're saying this because usually cases are not being diagnosed, not being reported, because many people don't go into hospitals. They are sick, they have a cold, they feeling feverish, they may not have any symptoms whatsoever, but they don't go into the hospital to get diagnosed. They don't go and get tested. So they're saying 1 out of every 5 people are positive. And that's what we're reporting. So this means in the past 7 days, the United States has seen 3.5 million new cases of COVID in the past 7 days. That's a scary number. Now, I know a lot is changing here in the United States, so I want you to do yourself a favor. First, I want you to just stay up to date on everything that's going on, both in stimulus, both in the election, in the stock market, in the economy in general, okay? With COVID, stay up to date. Educate yourself. Stay up to date. If that means you first go ahead and like this video if you enjoyed this content, but if that means you subscribe to my channel and you are always watching, great. If you go and subscribe to other people's channels, a couple people I really like, they provide great content and just facts. It's fact after fact after fact. Clear Value Tax is great. Stephen Gardner is incredible. Meet Kevin. Okay, 3 people. Clear Value Tax, Stephen Gardner, Meet Kevin. All great people. All great at reporting what's going on with stimulus, COVID, the negotiations. Kevin does really good. Meet Kevin does really good with stock market and economy. Okay, really great people. I highly recommend you go and watch their channels as well. Okay, but most importantly, doesn't matter what channel you're watching, most importantly, what we all want is for you to stay safe and stay healthy. So, just want to thank you guys for watching today's stimulus update and news report. If you can do me a favor, go ahead, smash that button, that like button if you enjoyed today's video. Subscribe if you want to stay updated on all things stimulus and how to make money. And I will see you guys on the next one.